Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 334. I'm your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. This is the 23rd of January. The month is approaching an end and we are here chilling. Good night, Sylvan. Once you're in the inside, of course, hit that like button, double tap the screen over there on TikTok if you're wondering how. And we're streaming live tonight on TikTok, on Facebook, and on YouTube. You know, occasionally we replace the Instagram with a little Facebook, allow Facebook people to jump in and feel nice. So good night over there to Facebook, to the no one that is currently over there on Facebook, and good night to all of you today. Well, this evening we're revisiting a story that was in the news coming down to the end of the year. Good night, Matic boss. Good night. Handle the Matics well, Mr. Boss Man of the Matics. Yeah, it's TSTT and their cyber attack. TSTT had a cyber attack coming down to the end of last year. Hey, Hotep. Why would the PM embarrass Shamfa Kojo like that? I heard about that, but you know, I didn't actually see the incident. Can someone explain to me what incident happened between Rowley and his Tobagonian co-worker? I honestly, I didn't see that. I've seen people talk about it, but I didn't see anything personally about it. Shamfa denies getting buff up from the Prime Minister. Oh, Ian Allen was the source? But all I'm seeing here is that one IA is the source of this information. Wait. Sorry about the delay. Y'all had me watching this story here, trying to catch up on this story. That's the meat of this story. Dr. Rowley is on a podium in a political meeting, speaks to a person off camera, a person who is a political activist, says that they believe it's another person, and we're just running with that story. I'm sorry, but that's not a verifiable source for me. That's not a verifiable source for me. I mean, on the note of Dr. Rowley's behavior, I always find that he's a paternalistic kind of guy, and that's a very paternalistic thing to say. That's that, you know, that kind of strict daddy behavior where you're standing there talking at a crowd and you think that now is the opportune moment to tweak someone's discipline and tell them how to behave. I mean, that's the kind of thing strict daddies do. And Dr. Rowley does fashion himself in such a way, so that's not a surprise. But I somehow doubt that it would have been an actual MP down there that he was saying that to. I just don't see that as being a benefit to them politically. But yeah, we're talking about the cyber attack that occurred on TSTT last year. And the thing with that cyber attack, part of the reason that made it so much of a news issue is that the line minister in charge said when it first came out, he said that there was no breach. There was no breach. There's basically nothing to worry about, was the statement he was giving, and he gave that statement to Parliament. And that statement was basically, as time would tell, a lie. We wait for things to happen to then create a contingency, no breach. It was I'm even less likely to believe it was Dr. Gatsby Dolly. let's dive right into it. You know, a bit of a virus, you know, out here trying to take me out. But wait, what's that, Nisi? Wait on what? Yes, 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 yes. Yes, boy, oh gosh. Tanti, persistent Tanti pass on. The persistent Tanti, rest her soul, condolences to her family. Tanti, we learned lessons of persistence and sticking up for the ones we love. We learned those lessons from you, Tanti. The poor lady must be grieved. Who knows? Who knows? She was an elderly lady too. She was an elderly lady, but yes, Tanti passed on. And condolences to Tanti. Minister, sorry. TSTT's 2023 cyber attack, customers' data not compromised. No, so if you all hear my voice sounding a little weird, that's that flu bothering me, trying to go on there. But the minister apologized. Someone said that the Minister of Public Utilities has been quiet since. Well, he hasn't been totally quiet. He is apologizing. He apologized. Public Utilities Minister Marvin Gonzalez on Friday unreservedly apologized to the House of Representatives for stating on November 1st that there was no compromise of customers' personal data during the TSTT cyber attack on October 30th, 2023. He's apologizing. Yeah, the internet was down. The internet was down and I was having a fight. But his apology is a bit contextual. As the line minister, this is the minister speaking, as the line minister reported to the parliament the contemporaneous information that I received in my official capacity, and at no time did I set out to mislead this house or the people of Trinidad and Tobago. He said, adding, the error in the statement of November 1st is quite regrettable, and I unreservedly apologize to this house and to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. He stated at all times, based on one, information provided to me by the executive and or board of TSTT, 2. TSTT's correspondence to its customers dated 29th October 2023, and 3. TSTT statement on cybersecurity issue, Port of Spain, etc. So he was drawing from the board and from previous statements made by TSTT. Why do they like to put a blanket over the problems like it not there? Because a blanket allows you to forget about the problems being there. And also it allows you to to not hold yourself accountable for the problem being there. You see, if there's an issue with plumbing in a house, and I am the appointed plumber in that said house, if I could put a blanket over the plumbing issue, then you can't say that the plumber isn't doing their job. Once the job is apparently not being done, then you are able to hold people accountable more for that. TSTT acting boss blames office of the CEO. So now the minister is apologizing. But in his apology, the minister basically said, I was just depending on what the board said to me. So now questions are being asked of the present board. If you all misled the minister, we'd like to know who did this. Who misled Public Utilities Minister Marvin Gonzalez on the TSTT cybersecurity breach, causing him to mislead the House of Representatives and by extension the country? Both the chairman of the Joint Select Committee and member Wade Mack, put this question to TSTT officials and acting CEO Kent Weston, who said it was the office of the CEO. They are blaming the office of the CEO. Now, this is a position that was then held by one Miss Lisa Agard, who was basically fired. But isn't it convenient to be able to blame an office for an issue. It's not directly any one person, it's an office. TSTT's chairman, Sean Roach, yesterday said questions coming in from the line minister or his ministry are channeled through the chairman and or directly to the office of the CEO. And that information received from the office of the CEO is communicated by the chairman directly to the minister or from the office of the CEO directly to his ministry. So it's either the chairman or the CEO, it would seem. And they're saying, well, maybe it was the CEO. The current acting CEO, just like saying corporate manslaughter, very good point, Adri, very good point. It's kind of the same thing. You know, you spread the blame around so much that no person gets the blame. No one person gets the blame if you spread it around so much. Good night, Krimak. What's going on, bro? But former CEO isn't taking that just like that. Lisa lashes back. Fired TSTT CEO denies misleading minister. Former TSTT CEO Lisa Egad yesterday categorically denied that she provided any misleading or inaccurate information to the Public Utilities Minister on the TSTT breach of October 9th. I am speaking for myself as the CEO of TSTT. I do not know what other sources or information the minister was getting, she said. Since the acting CEO of TSTT saw it fit to confirm that, in his view, I provided misleading information to the minister, I want to give the assurance to the acting CEO of TSTT and the organization and the board that I will be looking at those 2 hours of the Joint Select Committee and conferring with my counsel, who will advise me as to the appropriate legal action to take in relation to this most egregious violation and defamation of my character, Egad told the Express yesterday. So Egad sounds like she is planning on suing over this bit of kerfuffle. Oh ho, y'all say it's the office of the CEO, the office that I occupied up until a couple months, well, last month. So y'all are blaming me. Well, let's see if the courts would determine that. And I mean, I cannot be angry with the lady. That's what the courts are there for. If she thinks that they are lying about her and damaging her reputation, by all means, Tanti, let me just say Tanti because everyone doesn't appreciate being called a Tanti, but by all means, Sistrin, sue them. Sue them. Wendell says she basically saying her court clothes ready and she has money. Hey, let me see if I could pull up the quote. She said that nearly in those literal words there, Wendell. Egad said she welcomed the opportunity to appear before the Joint Select Committee to present the facts and to vindicate her reputation. This is quoting from Miss Egad here. I am an attorney at law with almost 40 years called to the English bar. What are you going on with this article? Just jump in. With almost 40 years called to the English bar, and I will take every step possible to ensure that my reputation is not tarnished by people providing false information about me. Sistren say, hey, I have my court clothes and they ironed. I have my court clothes and they are ironed. Let's tango. Jamie Ford says CEO gets reports and makes decisions based on it. Where did the info come from? Well, you are getting directly there, Jamie Ford. You are getting directly into the reasoning that the CEO gave. Because she didn't only threaten to sue. She basically gave a rundown, at least in her version, of how this all happened. And yeah, very likely if she sues, don't be surprised that if she wins the lawsuit, it's taxpayers paying it anyhow. Agard said the process of preparation of public statements in TSTT, and in particular any public statements that are so intimately connected to a technical issue like a cyber attack, was that the communications department, headed by Kamal George's former media practitioner, would report to Gerard Cooper, General Manager, Operations and Administration. So anything in relation to the cybersecurity issue was prepared by Kamal, vetted by his boss, Mr. Cooper, and I assume that they liaised with networks and IT department because in this particular instance, cybersecurity is a very technical area. When the information comes to the CEO's office, I would review, revise, if I think necessary, and then send it back to the communications department for public dissemination. So I understand that the acting CEO said the CEO's office issues statements. The CEO's office does not issue any statement. The CEO office approves for public dissemination, public statements, and in particular in connection with incidents of this nature, Agard said. Why can't they just get it right? Again, humans made to disappoint. You see, here's one of the difficult issues with a lot of these things. Nobody owns this company. The main interest in this company is the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the state of Trinidad and Tobago, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. If this company was owned privately, wholly, by one Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, let's say, I am pretty sure accountability would have been much more serious on an issue like this. But when the boss is the voting public, then basically there is no boss to answer to in that sense. You could afford to actually play that political football game where you toss it around one to the other. Eventually you all forget about it. But the statement made by the former CEO is correct, at least from my understanding of management structures. This would have been something that she would sign off on coming from somewhere else. Agard said the only direct communication that she had with the minister throughout that entire cybersecurity process was on the 1st of November, when at approximately 12:34 p.m. I received a request to provide information for an urgent question. And she was pointing out that the question about compromising data came from the opposition. If my memory serves me correct, that question about the compromising of data came out of nowhere, Agard said. I can assure you that what the minister read out in the parliament on the 1st of November was not what was prepared for him. What the minister appears to have done, and he will have to confirm this, is that he communicated in the parliament what was in the public release issued by TSTT on the 30th of October. The press statement was issued on the 30th. The minister was making his comments on November 1st. And I think this is correct. In the press statement of the 30th of October, TSTT said there was no loss or compromise of customer data. And that is what the minister, I believe, was quoting from. He didn't get that directly from a TSTT source where they told him there was no compromised data. He read the public release from TSTT and quoted that release in the parliament. Now, here's the thing. I consider this to be a technicality that the former CEO is using to some extent. She is saying that for him to say there was no compromise of data, he was not given that as a direct statement from TSTT. But TSTT did make that statement because it was a public statement made by TSTT. And her reasoning there is that in the press statement of the 30th of October, TSTT said there was no loss or compromise of customer data, which it defined as no data was deleted from TSTT's database or manipulated. That remains the case. So hear this, and tell me if this doesn't sound like a bit of corporate technicality they're trying to use here. She is saying that the company released a statement saying there was no compromise of customer data. But what we don't know is they defined compromise of customer data to mean any data was deleted or manipulated. So, TSTT released a statement saying no compromise, with their own special definition for what compromise means. The minister sees that public statement along with the statement that TSTT gave him, because very likely the official statement that TSTT may have given the minister to read out, because that's what the former CEO was talking about there. The official statement would be something prepared by the communications department, overseen by that, consulted with that, and then passed on to the minister. I think a statement like that would be much more vague, much more general, and not trying to give any direct information. The minister, trying to be an overachiever, I guess, said, okay, I'll take this statement, but I'd also take the statement given by TSTT to the general public, and I'd put them together. And I go to Parliament and I say there was no compromise of data. Not that TSTT personally told me this, but I read it in their public release yesterday. Not knowing that their public release had a special meaning for compromise. And now the new CEO, the new acting CEO, is saying, well, that whole business was the fault of the former CEO, but the former CEO is saying, well, I never actually told him to say that. That wasn't in any statement we sent to the minister. So for the now acting CEO to say that I acted irresponsibly, they're being untrue, and I'm going to sue. And by the end of it all, we never get any answers. The former CEO may have lost a job. Who knows, she might win some money in the lawsuit. But that's where that all goes. That's all we have for now, folks. Clap and close curtains. Nothing more coming of that. Isn't that wonderful? Hey! Any of y'all were trapped in that kind of nightmare traffic today? This is like Rowley saying you're not closing Petroshin all over again. To some extent, I guess. Yeah, anybody was trapped in that bit of nightmare traffic today? Like, bro, if you know I hate to have to leave home anytime during them peak hours. You literally feel your life. You feel your life just wasting away sitting in traffic there. You could actually sit and feel the useful hours of your life drip out. It's nearly like you're bleeding. You're feeling the life leaving you. The traffic this morning was insane, and a lot of it was the man who was killed right Barataria Beetham there on the highway. That happened at the worst possible time in the worst possible place, right on the entrance into Port of Spain, and right before any of the prime traffic builds up. So everybody woke up to have to go into Port of Spain and bounce up that incident. And then When you have a traffic incident like that early morning, what that does is the insane trickle effect throughout the whole country is going to cause impatience and bad driving elsewhere. And for the day, I probably saw 5, 6 other little fender benders. Inside of the traffic, somebody gonna get tired, somebody gonna get fed up, somebody gonna accelerate faster than they should have, somebody going to mash brakes harder than they should have, and somebody going to come and just and a little touch like that. And that little touch is going to cause a piece of macro traffic to build up on this side and on the other side. And oh gee, 12 o'clock and the traffic still isn't cleared yet. Midday, and we're still seeing morning time traffic going down the road. And just at that time, a good time, I think, to see the release of this study. Traffic woes cost TNT $2.26 billion a year. The direct economic cost of traffic in Trinidad and Tobago is an estimated $2.26 billion per year. Traffic alone covers half of Tobago's budget. RL says Metro. Now, it'll be great, but how do we do it? How do we do it in a system that is already designed the way ours is designed? The average commuter spends on average 793 hours, cumulatively 33 days, 1 month of the year in traffic delays. A month every year is spent just traffic. We can't work that month. We do nothing. We don't spend good family time. That's that month, February, the shortest month at least, devoted to just traffic. And we burned down Patrick Manning when he proposed the rail system. Listen, that rail system and metro system business, to me, the more we delay the implementation, the more it seems impossible. Like, if we're going to do that, the best time to have done it was 10 years ago. The best time to do it is now. You can't, the longer it takes, the more ridiculous it seems to even bring the idea up. Trini, RL, don't pretend like they can't mismanage a metro. Have you seen how the PTSD system works? The thing is, it's not that I don't believe if the government has control over a rail system that they may very likely mismanage it, but it's the trade-off. Would we get a mismanaged system that still benefits the country and cuts back from the whole month of wasted time in traffic? I think we would. Even with the government management being what it is. These are two of the main findings of the study: assessment of the economic costs of vehicle traffic congestion in the Caribbean, a case of Trinidad and Tobago, produced by ECLAC Caribbean. A news release from ECLAC Caribbean yesterday stated that over the period June to September 2023, data was collected using online field surveys in which respondents answered questions on their traffic congestion experience in Trinidad and Tobago. Evening, Anderson. But if it doesn't benefit and is still mismanaged, yeah, that is not going to be good. Correct. And isn't that the risk we face with nearly everything that government does? Everything you want the government to do, you're always kind of, do we really want you all in this? They won't put anything in place that they can't fill their pockets with. I've heard that said before. Hey, another article, another story moving across quickly to here. Interesting story. Trinidad always does breaks from trying to build anything new by. Yeah, yeah, that's to some extent. I understand what you mean. A story about Carnival, a Carnival story out here. The opposition never supported Manning's monorail proposal. They said it was too costly, really. Yes, I know that's what they said. And maybe they were right. I don't know the intricate details of the planning of it. I don't know. But yeah. A carnival story I noted. In my opinion, as a musician, I think the regular soca monarch had better quality than the chutney soca monarch. And that's not saying much. I am not saying that the soca monarch, the international soca monarch, as it was some real high quality event. But to me, I consider that to have better quality than the chutney soca monarch. The actual reel would have cost a trillion Brazilian. That's not true wide leather. And I mean, if you are a supporter of the United National Congress, you do understand that they built a highway going down to Point 14 for that actual trillion Brazilian in terms of the increase on global. Nowhere in the world do highways cost what that highway costed. Let's put it like that. So I mean that's something that's not totally strange to us. Yet still, if we were to take a trade-off, would we rather the UNC take that trillion billion cut and get that highway down point, or would it have been better that we just didn't get the highway down point? It's kind of the trade-off we were working with. But yeah, back to this story. I consider the chutney soca monarch by and large to be hot raw garbage. No offense meant to the enjoyers of the art form, or the enjoyers or practitioners. No offense meant. But by and large, when I listen to the chutney soca monarch, it's audible feces. Rubbish. Straight. Garbage. Yet for some reason, RL says chutney soca is the most embarrassing thing I have in my culture. Who does approve this? And true. it kind like personally, I would like if we banned all international broadcasting of chutney soca monarch. Like, don't let outside think this is the level of our creativity. Like, just leave this for our inside here, inside Trinidad. We enjoy. Well, some people enjoy. You know, it's like one of those weird foods where it's like dog in China. The locals enjoy this dog business, but this isn't something that you want to promote to the world. So I think chutney soca might be in that kind of realm. Strangely enough, though, the soca monarch is unable to continue because of government funding. Yet, Nell Ramdas, not all songs are bad in CSM. They need just screens. I agree with you. I am going in hard for a purpose. I'm exaggerating for a reason. Because the chutney soca monarch still stands. There's a chutney soca monarch final coming this year. And the international soca monarch doesn't exist for this year. Isn't that strange? And to me, this is like a cementing of the point that I always make with this. The international soca monarch became impotent because of government funding. They depended so much and so long on the government helping we run this thing that they didn't engineer a product for the customers. While the chutney soca monarch, on the flip side, did just that. I am not the customer for the CSM. I am not the customer. The customers for the CSM, keeping the CSM alive. 11 artists joined Daddy Chiney at the CSM finals. This is the first time there will be an equal number of women competing against the men at the highest level. Cyberattack CEO George Singh says the 2024 Chutney Soca Monarch is proving to be quite successful as thousands of online viewers were able to enjoy the semi-final show via live stream last Saturday, January 20th. The semi-final round was held at the Rig in San Fernando. 32 artists performed at the semi-final stage of the event. The women at the event outperformed the men as 6 of the 10 women now move to the final, while only 5 of the 22 men move forward, Singh stated in a release. The grand final will be hosted by Big Rich and international social media influencer Carla Henry, who will be flying in from Colorado for the event, the Cyberattack CEO confirmed. International TV show host Vashti Durga will also be coming in from Toronto to host the TV stream of the event. DJ Anna and Simo and Young Brother and Pimpin will be joining Ravi B and Karma, Nishad M and Nival Chetlal as part of the entertainment lineup on final night. Ruplal G with a concert set by RG the Band will also put on a concert set. Other top soca acts will also make guest appearances. Listen. That's why CSM still exists. Hey, Nell. You're a Chutney Soca artist? Big up. Just because Marshall not in participating, they don't care about the rest of the soca artists. No, that's not it, Amir. The reason the Soca Monarch can't exist is not because of Marshall. Many things happen because of Marshall, but that's not on Marshall. That's not on Marshall. That's on the fact that the Soca Monarch for years was running a strange ship where the government, the state, the country, us, the people, were paying to carry on the event and paying for the prizes, while the profits from the event basically were privatized. And when the government stopped inputting the same amount of money, all of a sudden this event cannot go on. And I don't like that. If the event is, as you say, as important culturally to the country, as many people say, so important to the culture, wouldn't people who like it support it? Like the Chutney Soca Monarch? How does the cost compare between both events? Honestly, I do not know. I honestly do not know. And to me, it's nearly irrelevant, because if it is that the Chutney Soca Monarch is at a cost that they're able to collect back a profit worth it by the end of their event, then, and the Soca Monarch isn't, then what that tells me is the Soca Monarch has overextended themselves. It reminds me of a certain soca artist who once attempted to have their event in the National Stadium, the Hasely Crawford. And they were not a Hasely Crawford selling kind of soca artist. CSM have a lot of private sponsorship, which is how it should be. Which is how it should be. Which is how it should be. Remove the government, and that way there's no excuse there. The event carries on itself. The event carries on itself. And the problem is, to me, the problem is when the government sponsors these things, it disrupts the flow between the service provider, let's see, and the customer. My favorite example, doubles. I like my doubles example. If we have a government-sponsored doubles stand, this doubles vendor situated on Independence Square, let's see. We have a doubles vendor on Independence Square that is sponsored by the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. That's We Doubles, TT Doubles. You could go there and pick up a doubles for free. The government pays that. What do you think would happen to the quality of that doubles? What would happen to the quality of that doubles? When the doubles man knows whatever I give to you, the government pays me either way. I could give you 1 bara, 2 bara, 3 bara, 1 chana, enough chana. I could go real heavy on the pepper when you say slight. I could put no pepper when you say you want roast pepper. I could do what I want because my pay is assured by the government. And if we had that existing, 30 years, let's see. The government had the government doubles in Independence Square. And the quality of the doubles start to get kind of way, obviously, how government doubles going to taste. And then the government stops sponsoring it. All of a sudden, what's going to happen is you're going to see revealed the actual relationship that this product has with its customer base. Do the customers legitimately like the product? Or were they using it because basically it was free? Cardell says it's the police service you're talking about. Ha! 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 Hey, Ronnie, I see you over on Facebook. Where it is more East Indian populated, people support their music very well. Well, okay, but if that's the case that it's a cultural thing, wouldn't soca be supported by the people of Port of Spain and environs? With the removal of government sponsors and more privatization, there will be better quality, yes, but higher cost, which is ideal, which is how it should be. Let people pay for the quality they want, and we'll see if the people want that quality or not. I'm sorry. If the country determines that we don't find this worth it to pay for it, why should we continue? But who willing to put out more? Well, Neely, then that tells me who wants the thing. Why would we force to sponsor an event while the people we're sponsoring it for don't want it? All of those fetes, all through the year, the CIC fet, Back to Blue, this one, that one, Sahara, that, they don't have to go and get government sponsorship for their event, you know. Because people who like their event will pay $3,000 to go listen to music and stand up and whine. Because the event hosts have understood who their target audience is, they're able to create a product that they want, and voila. Why would we encourage the Soca Monarch to not do that? The Calypso Monarch, as much as it is struggling, comes off well. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. That's why it has VIP General Administration. That's people choice on what they can afford, correct? They can also take a loan from the government for Soca Monarch and they still don't find it feasible. Because I think they know that the Soca Monarch product is not a product that the people who come to Soca Monarch would pay to get. So it is an issue of needing better management. I will assume so. I will assume that is exactly the issue. Because I am not a carnivalite. That's not my thing. But I feel, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you could engineer this thing to still be profitable. Vary your expenses. Again, like the soca artist who tried to have Hazley Crawford to hold, I can't remember which day they attempted to take. It may have been a Wednesday. They attempted to take, when Marshall had his Monday, Kess had his Tuesday. Some other people were trying different days. And somebody tried a day in the international stadium, in our national stadium, the Hazley Crawford, and it actually wasn't Iowa. It's not Iowa I'm talking about. Those, no. Water Boss has his boat. Water Boss understands. I am Water Boss. I go for the boat. There was another artist that attempted that, and it bust bad. And I think she recognized her problem and stopped. And I think that's kind of what you would have to do on the Soca Monarch side. Understand, okay, if I have a preliminary event here, and very few of the artists in the preliminary event are at the quality that people would like to pay to see, then I understand where I hold this, how much I charge for this, has to... Trini Hotep, you call names. I will not call names of stalwarts of our national genre of music, people who put the work out there decades in, decades out, and I will not call their names to insult them publicly like that. I will not, but you all are free to call whichever names you want. But that's a lesson. That's a lesson that maybe the International Soca Monarch has to learn. I wouldn't doubt, if you give this Southex man, what's Southex CEO's name, George Singh, if you give him the International Soca Monarch to run, I think he will run it profitably. I think he will. I do think he will. Because Trinidadians like a party, Trinis like soca. That was the point I was making with the Chutney Soca Monarch point. The sentiment in general about Chutney Soca Monarch throughout Trinidad is that the quality isn't that high. That's the general sentiment. That's the point I was making. People insult Chutney Soca Monarch going and coming. And yet still, somebody is able to carve out a niche enough to make profit off of this. You can't have the government sponsoring Morbi. Morbi have specific people who like it. The government isn't to sponsor Morbi to everyone. Allow a manufacturer to make their Morbi specialized to people who like Morbi, and it will be profitable. Many of the committees will find a way to make it profitable. Yes, they will. But, and to me, this is a problem I see looking out at Trinidad's cultural landscape. So many avenues, cultural and sports. It's not just in culture, it's in culture and sports. Trinidad and the Caribbean, we see this. So many avenues in our culture and sports are held up by some old folks that have been in those positions since Eric Williams was a little boy. And they figure the old way is the only way to do things, and many of the times they are facilitated by the status quo, as in the governments, as in WICB, the cricket board, as in TTFA, our football association, You regularly see that where these 60, 70-year-old men sit down in a place and aren't moving and aren't making any real changes, and the industry, the product is dying around them, and they're fine with that because they get to hold on to it. I remember when T20 was coming around in cricket. I don't know how many of you are cricket fans. I mean, we are West Indians here, and that says something. For a West Indian, for cricket to lose its place in the West Indies tells you something about the WICB in and of itself. But when T20 was making its headway, I remember some of these old men. I'll go to use another adjective, but old men. I remember some of these old men criticizing T20. This isn't the real cricket, you know. These fellas are not these fellas are not really playing good strokes. These are not cricketing strokes, you know. The test cricket is how you really see the real skill of a. And they would have sat around, forced test cricket to stay the only cricket and watch it die. That's what they would have been fine with. Similarly, you see in cultural issues. Some old NGO that has the same director since 1995 and has pictures shaking Manning hand when Manning used to wear the big, I don't know if you all know those old pictures, Manning and the big frame glasses back in the day. They are pictures shaking Manning hand since then when they received their instruments of appointment, and they're still in the position to this day, and the industry, the cultural aspect that they are in charge of is dying. Yeah, that's true, RL. And you see, for me, as long as it's not state money, fine. There are many things that aren't directly profitable. YouTube is not profitable. I don't know how many people know that. YouTube cannot run a profit, basically. That's why YouTube cannot have a good competitor, because YouTube basically runs at a bus because they are able to collect money from Google in general to keep themselves running. And the thing is, though, it's not a government paying for it. It's another private company who is running this other private company at a loss for a specific reason that allows them to gather profits in a wider scale. And CPL may be similar. Plus, they're selling your data. Well, of course. It's easier to steal money from the state than private. That's true. Strange how nobody wants to sponsor the Jamaican team. What you saying there, RL? But yeah, the profitability isn't a problem as long as it's not state money having to run in there. And the direct profitability sometimes isn't the only thing. So, like when Trinidad invests hundreds of millions in Carnival, or Tobago in their October Carnival, I hear they aren't going to do a parade of the bands anymore. They're moving it to October. Wasn't it a promise that we're not going to do that? You know, we're still going to have the two. Obviously, they're moving it to October. When Tobago invests in that, the idea isn't that the investment they get, someone comes to Carnival and takes out a coil of money and gives it back to the government for that investment. The idea is, okay, the government spends 100 million on Carnival, people come to this spectacle that the government puts on, and cumulatively the people that come would spend way more than 100 million in the country. So okay, they may not buy something from the government, but they may buy something from a street vendor, which in turn gives money to the country. So on that side, you understand why governments invest in things like that. Craig Ahe says Soca Monarch should not be run by private entities. And, well, here's the thing. I could understand that more than the private-public kind of partnership nonsense that was going on. If it's private public where somebody privately making a profit but the public paying the money, that makes no sense. If you're telling me this is going to be totally public and it's going to be put on by our national museum and it's now a cultural show where the government aims to show the culture of Trinidad and Tobago, well, that's a whole other thing. We could talk about the benefits of that, yes, but that's still a whole other thing. It's an exhibition put on by the government as a cultural show. Okay, I could understand that. That could make sense to me. Then we're talking a different event. Maybe Napa. Maybe it's held at Napa because, it's government. It's directly government. You have foreign dignitaries even. And then that changes the whole Soca Monarch vibe from just someone going to screaming out of key to now someone understanding I have to perform this in front of foreign dignitaries. So, well, this isn't a old jam nonsense. It's like what we had with the Soca Monarch was the worst of all worlds. It wasn't like, okay, because it wasn't a full state event where you had the foreign dignitaries and the people up there visiting. It was just the regular riffraff of Trinidad and Tobago. Well, then people go up there and sing nonsense and scream out of key because there's no shame in this. But then at the same time, because the government does sponsor it, the people screaming nonsense on stage are paid well for it. I see a Ferrari in Port of Spain the other day. There are Ferraris in Trinidad. There have been Ferraris in Trinidad a while now. Trinidad is rich, Trinidad is rich. There are people in Trinidad that are rich on a global scale of rich. They go to Miami and they are still rich. Trinis who are rich in Miami. You understand? They are rich people here, not regular, not local rich only we're talking about. They are legitimately very wealthy people in this country. Some of the boat Tobago is having February Carnival, by the way. Yes, they are. But they are not having the parade of the bands. I believe I read that article last week that they're moving the parade of the bands to October. So there is that. They're having the carnival, but not the main parade of the band's business. And I think I saw Gypsy basically telling them, forget about this carnival thing. Stick to carnival in October. And it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense that what he's saying, to stick to the October and forget about this, because maybe you may actually get another lane out of the Trinidad festival existing and Tobago doing something differently. You may actually get another lane that might be more profitable. Who knows? Because it's a cultural show and should be run as a tourist attraction. Well, Craig Ahe, as I said, if that's the case, I could understand that. If that's the case, then fine. It makes sense. But not as a fact. If we have Ferraris as a fleet on a taxi stand, then I would say we're rich. Where do you see Ferraris as a fleet on a taxi stand? No, even the wealthiest countries generally don't have a fleet of Ferraris on the taxi stand. All right, people. All right. I'm looking to dive out there. Any further questions or comments on the inside? Men think this is Dubai. The thing many people forget about places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Qatar and things like that is those places are dictatorships. Those are autocracies. There's a supreme leader in places like that. So when you look at the good side, are you willing to sacrifice that? People, Dr. Rowley says one statement out of place and people call him a dictator back and forth. Are you willing to have an actual dictator run the country? Been to Germany, and BMW and Mercedes-Benz are taxis. Well, yes, I didn't say BMW and Mercedes-Benz, I said Ferraris. There are many places in the world where BMWs and Benzes are work vehicles because they are useful. Not a Ferrari. A Ferrari is not the same thing as a Benz or a BMW. That's I mean, even in Trinidad, it might be a total surprise if you see a Benz working executive taxi service or a Benz working as an airport taxi or something. That might be a total surprise. A Ferrari? Not the Raris. Be mindful, not mindless. Not really ghetto zone. Dubai have ghetto zones like 2 miles outside the city with dirt roads. Well, lower middle income places. Well, as far as I know, I've never been, but as far as I know, my understanding is it isn't probably what we would call ghetto, just not as rich. And I guess that's what you have when it's autocracy. Exactly, white leather. A one passenger taxi. How much to ride in a Rari as a taxi? Like a 10,000 a trip? All right, people. I am out. As Trinity always says, be mindful, not mindless. And I will see you guys again for the next mindful session, which will be tomorrow, Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Until then, people, stay safe. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This was the Mindful Life. Peace out. Bye.